What if the biggest decisions of your life were never made by logic, but by emotions pretending to be logic? You believe you're rational. Most people do. You believe that when you make decisions, you weigh the facts, consider the consequences, and arrive at the most reasonable conclusion. You believe your opinions are your own, your judgments are fair, your choices are intelligent. But what if that belief is the first illusion? What if, at this very moment, invisible emotional forces are influencing your thoughts without your awareness? Think about the last argument you had. Why did you say what you said? Why did you react the way you reacted? Why did your heart race before your mouth opened? And why, hours later, when the emotions had faded, did you suddenly think of all the things you should have said instead? Because in that moment, you weren't thinking, you were reacting. And there is a difference. The human mind likes to imagine itself as a wise king ruling over a kingdom of emotions. The reality is often the opposite. Emotions are the king. Reason is merely the servant that arrives afterward, trying to justify whatever the king has already decided. This uncomfortable truth explains much of human behavior. A person destroys a relationship over a moment of jealousy. An investor loses everything because of greed. A leader starts a conflict because of wounded pride. A friend betrays a friend because of envy. Later, each one provides logical explanations. Each one creates a story. Each one convinces themselves that their actions made sense. But beneath the story lies a hidden force, emotion. Have you ever noticed how easy it is to recognize irrationality in others? You can instantly see when someone is overreacting. You can spot their insecurity. You can detect their anger. You can watch their ego take control. Yet when the same thing happens inside you, it feels completely justified. Why? Because emotions don't announce themselves. They disguise themselves as truth. When anger enters your mind, it doesn't say, "I am anger." It says, "You are right." When envy enters your mind, it doesn't say, "You are jealous." It says, "Life is unfair." When fear enters your mind, it doesn't say, "You are afraid." It says, "You are being careful." And this is what makes emotions so dangerous. They wear masks. The moment you become emotional, your perception begins to change. You stop seeing reality as it is. You begin seeing reality through the lens of your emotional state. The world itself appears different. A harmless comment feels like an insult. A minor setback feels like an insult. A disagreement feels like an attack. The facts have not changed. Only your emotional lens has. Yet in that moment, the illusion feels real. Psychologists have observed something fascinating. When people are emotionally activated, they become remarkably skilled at finding evidence that supports what they already feel. Not what is true, what they feel. The mind becomes a lawyer rather than a judge. Its goal is no longer discovering reality. Its goal is defending the emotion. And so it begins gathering evidence. Selective evidence. Biased evidence, convenient evidence, anything that protects the emotional state. This is why intelligent people often make foolish decisions. Intelligence alone does not protect you. In fact, it can make you more dangerous. A highly intelligent person can construct incredibly convincing arguments to justify irrational behavior. They become experts at deceiving themselves. And self-deception is perhaps the most dangerous deception of all, because when someone else lies to you, there is a chance you will discover it. But when you lie to yourself, who will expose the lie? Think about that. How many decisions in your life were actually emotional decisions wearing logical clothing? How many opportunities did you reject because of fear? How many relationships did you damage because of pride? How many risks did you take because of excitement? How many truths did you ignore because they were uncomfortable? The answers may be difficult to face, but awareness begins where comfort ends. Most people spend their entire lives believing they understand themselves, yet they remain strangers to the emotional currents driving their behavior, like passengers asleep on a ship, unaware of the ocean carrying them. And perhaps the greatest danger is not irrationality itself, it is believing you are immune to it, because the moment you believe you cannot be fooled, you become easiest to fool. Imagine waking up tomorrow with the ability to see emotions the way you see weather. Imagine looking at yourself and recognizing the storm before it arrives. You notice irritation beginning to build. You see frustration gathering strength. You feel pride demanding attention. You detect fear quietly spreading through your thoughts. How different would your life become? Because that single ability, the ability to observe your emotions before acting on them, might be one of the greatest powers a human being can possess. Most people never develop it. Instead, they live in a constant state of reaction. Someone criticizes them, they react. Someone disagrees with them, they react. Someone succeeds where they failed, they react. Their lives become a chain of emotional impulses, and then they wonder why they keep arriving at destinations they never intended to reach. The truth is unsettling. You do not reveal your character during calm moments. You reveal it during emotional moments. Anyone can appear wise when things are going well. Anyone can appear patient when nothing is challenging them. Anyone can appear rational when nothing is challenging them. But what happens when your pride is wounded? What happens when your status is threatened? What happens when someone embarrasses you? What happens when fear enters the room? That is where your true nature emerges. History is filled with people whose lives were destroyed, not by enemies, but by their inability to control emotional reactions. Entire careers vanished because of a moment of anger. Entire fortunes disappeared because of a moment of greed. Entire relationships collapsed because of a moment of insecurity. A moment. Just one moment. That's all it took. The frightening part is that these people rarely saw it coming. Neither do most of us, because emotions grow gradually, like cracks forming beneath a building, invisible at first, harmless looking, until suddenly everything collapses. This is why self-awareness is not a luxury. It is survival. The first battle is not against other people. It is against the emotional forces operating inside your own mind. Can you recognize anger before it speaks? Can you recognize envy before it poisons your judgment? Can you recognize fear before it disguises itself as caution? Can you recognize pride before it convinces you that you're incapable of being wrong? These questions determine more than success. They determine the quality of your entire life, because every day, without realizing it, you stand at countless crossroads. One path is reaction, the other is awareness. Reaction is easy. Reaction is automatic. Reaction belongs to the emotional animal within us. Awareness is difficult. Awareness requires observation. Awareness requires humility. Awareness requires the courage to admit that perhaps your first impulse is not always your wisest one. And yet, this is where true power begins. Not in controlling others, not in winning arguments, not in proving yourself right, but in recognizing the invisible forces trying to control you. The law of irrationality teaches a humbling lesson. You are not as rational as you think. Neither is anyone else. Every person you meet is fighting unseen emotional battles. Every decision contains hidden motives. Every certainty may conceal a deeper fear. The goal is not to eliminate emotion. That is impossible. Emotion is part of being human. The goal is to become conscious of it, to pause before reacting, to observe before judging, to question before believing. Because the moment you learn to step back and examine your emotions instead of obeying them, something extraordinary happens. You stop being their prisoner, and for the first time, perhaps in your entire life, you begin to see reality as it truly is.